What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex.
I'm Christina.
And we are going to be talking about Episode 9, Rewind 1921 of Lovecraft Country, right?
Right.
Is it Rewind 1921? Yeah.
Yes.
I couldn't remember if it was the other way. But yeah, let's dive into it, guys. All right, guys, so we're going to be doing a lot of spoilers, obviously. That's what these discussions are. So if you do not want anything spoiled, this is probably not the episode, or any of these are for you. But just want to give you a fair warning before you start watching this. If you are interested in watching Lovecraft Country, which I think both of us think you should, don't watch this video. But anyway, now that we've warned you that, what did you think of the episode this week, Christina?
Holy shit. This episode was really intense, and it was really sad, and it was kind of hard to watch. And I wanted to rewatch it, but I can't.
It's beautifully tragic.
Yeah, it really is.
It's so, we were both tearing up during the show, and that's saying something. When a show can make you feel that way, and, I mean, yeah, we've spent 9 episodes getting to know these characters, but these aren't even necessarily the nicest people all the time. A lot of them are very flawed and individuals, you know what I mean?
Like human beings.
Right. But I'm just saying, Tick's character is pretty, it's so back and forth. You got Montrose too, because he fucking murdered somebody to protect his family, but it's still fucking murder, you know what I mean? He killed an ancient fucking woman.
Right.
You know what I mean? That was around forever.
You're right.
That's not just killing a regular person. That's killing somebody that's lived for a long time.
That sounds like
the last of her kind.
That some demons are going to be haunting him. That's
right.
what it sounds like.
But yeah, this episode was just so beautiful. It was tragic and sad, and it was an emotional roller coaster. Some of the music choices that they did in this show was just so amazing.
Oh, it really, stood out this episode, the music. Yeah,
it's not just that it stood out, it just fit for the situation.
Right.
And the way they edited it to it and how it all worked is just, man, it almost makes me want to tear up now just thinking about it. It was beautiful.
It really was.
It was probably, I would say this is the most beautiful episode.
Right.
Beautifully tragic, again, because it is tragic as well. Both parts equally.
Mm-hmm. I was not expecting all this.
Oh, man. And there's some stuff on this, guys, that we got about the music that was picked in this and what they did extra on top of it that is really fascinating. So we'll get into that when we cross that bridge. But of course, find out what happens to Dee, because she's turning into Bopsy or Topsy or one of the two.
And finally everyone's caring about her.
Right. Oh shit, we should have been paying attention.
And they're fighting over it.
Yeah. Well, that's a theme in this whole thing, is that everybody's always so selfish and keep secrets from themselves, everybody else.
Not communicating.
And half the time, nobody would have died or gotten in trouble if they would have just shared it with each other.
Yeah.
If they just believed in each other to share it with each other. But yeah, we got Letty, Ruby, Montrose, and Tick. They're arguing over what to do with Dee. And Letty lets Tick know that he's first Tick's we can just give Christina the pages. We'll save Dee's life. We have to do it. It's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. And she's like,
oh, shit. And she did a really good job with acting like that, too.
Yeah, no, that was a good spot. Why are you keeping secrets from each other? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just fucking tell each other, But it's probably because no one ever agrees on anything. So they're well, what do we do? And he's like, fucking, I thought Tick was going to punch her. You know what I mean? That's how you never know with fucking Tick,
Right.
I'm is he going to snap and just turn into a bad guy? They'd go to talk to Christina and I guess she's just being nice because of her involvement with Ruby. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the only thing. But there's also...
I think she was just looking for an opportunity, and she got it.
Well, so they do mention that they can't do anything without Lancaster, so they can't stop the curse. Which she offers that, I can reset the curse, which will give you only, a few days. And they're like, okay, let's do it, whatever. And she's like, well, only if Tick comes with me to Artem for the night of the autumnal equinox. Yeah, so it's but she knows Lancaster's not dead. Mm-hmm. And she asks. So that shows you right there what kind of character this person is. And she's just trying to make sure that she gets to fulfill her curiosity and power interests with becoming immortal more than her father was, because she has more knowledge than her dad did before he died.
Right.
So, and we see Lancaster, like laying in a closet with his patchy skin and everything like that. And we find out that the amulet that Ruby put in his office is the reason why his body's not staying together. And William walks in and kind of relishes in this and is like, yeah, you're pretty much going to die. This is revenge. Thanks.
See ya.
And it's like, that shows you right there that, like, she doesn't give a shit about Dee either.
Right.
She was just looking for her chip.
Right.
To fucking get Tick. To do whatever the hell it is. So, but we also find out they had like a conversation in there where they were talking about his skin and stuff. And I think they basically been taking like people of color and just stealing them and then using their skin to patch him up.
Patch him up like Frankenstein.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why he has different parts like he does. It's the whole Hiram thing that he knew. But Lancaster dies finally after pouring copious amounts of blood out of his chest. Looks like just like wine bottles pouring out. Montrose is then having a conversation about, because they're putting all the pressure on Montrose now because he's the closest thing to family and for everything that they need to do in order to do these spells or something like that, right? So they're putting all this weight on Montrose, and Montrose is like trying to get drunk and shit. That seems to be a thing. He's trying to drink.
He can't take the pressure.
He's trying to drink George's Road Rash moonshine because he doesn't know if he should tell Tick that he might not be his father. And he tells him, and then he's like, what the fuck? He's like, Mom cheated on you? He explains the whole situation, how close they were.
Right.
He was like, the massacre just brought us together in ways that you'll never understand.
Right. Should we kind of find out later?
Right. And that's when Hippolyta shows up.
Yeah, she just comes in. What's wrong with D?
Yeah, Hippolyta. Sorry.
What the fuck? Like that's her entrance.
Yeah, she just kind of wanders in. Like, well, where the fuck have you been? Hippolyta's like, what? What's going on? And they tell her about D and like the curse, and then
they need the Book of Shadows.
Yeah, they need the Book of Names.
Sorry,
like, you're confusing me. That's like fucking
Harry Potter or something.
No,
I don't know.
I think it's Blair Witch.
Oh, is it?
Part 2, the Book of Shadows.
Oh, sorry, Book of Names.
But they're looking for the Book of Names, but we found out earlier in another episode where he goes to visit some of his cousins that the book got burned up in the Tulsa fucking massacre, and so there's no way to get it. So Hippolyta is like, well, let's go back to 1921. Montrose is like, what the fuck? You just get it, go back to back in time? Like, you're sounding crazy. And she's like, look, I was in another world for 200 years of Earth time, somewhere else in that amount of time, and I came back. Infinite time, infinite knowledge. And she's like, and I'm going to use all of it to save my daughter's life. Now get in the fucking car. And so I'm like, damn, yeah, don't fuck with her right now.
And then it was like Kentucky. And we're like, what?
Yes. Now
Kentucky?
This is something we found out about. I don't know if you guys remember. I think it was episode 5 or 6.
When they first went to the time machine.
The observatory.
Right, observatory.
It said Mayfield. That was wrong. Apparently, the Misha Green, it somehow got mixed up in the show. And they put the wrong name on there. And she didn't even realize that it wasn't the right name until this episode.
Because somebody asked.
Yeah, they were like, Kentucky or
Kansas.
Mayfield. And
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, yeah, that's actually, it's supposed to be Kentucky. But back at the observatory, Tick, Montrose, Letty, and Hippolyta are trying to fix the machine. And she's obviously much more knowledgeable now. And she's like telling Tick how to breed, the wires so that they stay together. And she's talking about like, oh, there's 60 billion universes that she can visit. And she uses her arm. She's like, we need a motherboard. And Letty's like, what the fuck is a motherboard?
Yeah, what's a motherboard?
And she's like, these. And shows the little things on her wrist.
Did she say, I'm the motherboard?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
She needs to use the picture that, and fucking Montrose is like babbling on about Tulsa, and he's nervous about going back to Tulsa, and she's like, I need that picture from, back in the day, and then Tick just yanks it out of his hand while he's telling the story and gives it to her. He's like, we ain't got time for this shit. But you realize that, Montrose was out in the car drinking the entire rest of the moonshine, which, goddamn, what a fucking champ he is. Moonshine? You know how strong that shit is?
It's like gasoline.
Yeah, dude. So Hippolyta hooks it up. They tune into fucking Tulsa 1921. They jump through, and of course, Montrose is like lollygagging around because it's a very emotional time for him. And we don't know why exactly. Not specifically yet. Well, we kind of do, but they don't. We think it's for other reasons. So they go back in time. They have to change their clothes and everything like that. They jump through the portal, whatever, and they change their clothes and they try to go out to find George and like the house and stuff.
To get the book.
Yeah, because George, Montrose, Tick's mother lives next door with her family, who is going to get burned down. That we find out a little later that was the history, that their house was one of the first to burn down. They walk past the Buster Keaton movie, The Goat. Some people were saying that was about a man being chased by police. I read it.
Oh, yeah, I did too.
I read it. It's really not. I don't think it's connected to anything in particular.
They must have just been a fan of his work. That's what I took
maybe
from it.
It might have just been a movie on at that time.
Well, it was. It was released in 1921.
It was a short film.
So it was, It was a silent film.
Yeah. Essentially, the story is where Buster Keaton throws a horseshoe over his shoulder for good luck and hits a police officer, and then the officer's chasing him throughout this whole thing, and then somebody dies and he happens to have the gun and he's like, what the fuck? And it's like just this constant thing while he's trying to find this woman that he likes, that he keeps running into, and it's like this love thing while he's being chased by the police. I don't think that really necessarily connects, but some people think it does. Obviously, Montrose is still having a hard time. Tick calls him out on being a drunk. He's like, I knew you were drunk. They go back to their old house, and they see Montrose and George's dad beating the shit out of Montrose again. And you hear him. He's like, you going to put that flower in your ear? Because the Montrose dad knew something was up way back then.
Right.
Because of how he was acting. And really, he was just holding George's corsage, who George was going to go on a date that night to prom
dance
with Tick's mom, Dora. It gets called off like 2 hours before, didn't they say? And that's when Montrose disappears after all this like fighting and stuff. He's like tearing up.
Well, Dora comes out of the house while he was getting beaten up.
Right.
And interfered.
Right. And he did say that one thing where he was like, George is the only person that actually saved me. All the time. He tried to protect me the most. Because Dora comes out and she's like, maybe you should protect him once in a while. And he was like, that's not true. He's like, George is the only one that tried to help me. And then he disappears and they're like, fuck, he's going to go get George. We don't know what the hell's going on. So Tick's sent out to go find Montrose. And Letty's like signed up to wait around till she can get in the house somehow for Dora's house to get the book.
And then shit started going down because the white people started coming through the neighborhood.
They knocked that kid over first, and she happened to be near. And then they fired bullets at her, which she gets hit, but it doesn't matter because she's got the protection spell.
And what's cool about these scenes right now, they filmed some of these scenes in Martin Luther King's neighborhood where he was born. They intentionally went down there and filmed down there. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that is interesting. I didn't know that. But as we know, Tick's mom, Dora's house, is supposed to get burned down. Young Dora and young George are going to look for young Montrose because prom is canceled. So they go to find Montrose after he gets beat with his dad or something like that. Young Montrose is off talking to one of his friends at the center of town in front of the fountain or whatever, which happens to be this guy that he actually really likes and who is his friend, but is also gay. And then older Montrose and Tick are having a conversation. He's like, look, you got to let George go. He's like, you don't need to fucking chase after George. If you change something in the past, it might fuck everything up and we might not even exist. He's like, I can't not exist. My son can't not exist. And Montrose is like, this isn't about George. He says, it's about this. And he points over to his younger self, and that the kid, James, I think it was. I don't remember.
Oh, I don't remember.
Who got killed and shot in the head. And that's already tragic as it is. He's like, this is the part where I call him the F word and tell him I can't be friends with him anymore because I'm not like that. Which was not only betraying his friendship, but himself. Which is really tragic there. He gets shot in the head, and it's like, fuck.
So when the white people come and start harassing young Montrose and the other kid, and they were making fun of him, and they were singing the Inny Minny Miny Mo song.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, I had no idea that song
got changed.
Was like a racist song.
Yeah, I don't know which came first,
oh
but yeah, it sounds
God.
about right.
No, it was during the slavery times where that song came about.
Yeah, because it doesn't really make much sense, right?
Right.
Either way.
Yeah, it never did, but now that I saw it and it was explained to me, I was like, oh my God, never again.
Right.
Oh my God. Horrible.
But before that happens, Letty is on the street. She gets shot at. Remember I mentioned that. And she goes into the house where Dora is because Montrose and George's their younger selves' dad saves her because he saves her by shooting at the white people who were trying to kill her. Mm-hmm. And then brings her into Dora's house, which is like perfect, but also kind of like she doesn't know what to do because she's like,
I got to get this book.
I got to get this book, and I don't know what they're going to think of me. And they're like, you can stay here. Don't you worry. Here's a gun, Mm-hmm. And then she gets caught upstairs, like looking through her shit.
Looking through the stuff.
And it's Hattie, right? Hattie is the
the
mom of Dora.
Yeah, like the great great grandma.
She's the one that had the book anyway, hidden. Mm-hmm. And Letty's like, I was just looking for something. She's like, no, you better tell me what the fuck you're going to do or you're going to die.
Because I've never seen shoes like that before in my life.
She notices the shoes when she walks in.
Right.
And she knew something was a little off and that there was something off. It's probably with that book. Mm-hmm. And so Letty's like, look, I'm from the future. Your grandson, your great-grandson, mm-hmm. I'm in love with, and he won't exist, and Dora won't exist, and all these things won't exist if I don't get that book. Mm-hmm. Or because they talk about George's daughter who might die also, and she's explaining it to her, and she's just like, you're crazy. The only book I know is the Bible. And she's like, look, I can prove it to you. You have a symbol on your body that looks like this. And she's like, there's no way she could know that.
Right.
She's like, okay, so what the fuck? And she's like, I'm supposed to die, aren't I? And she was like, yeah. Like, if you don't, then all these other people don't exist.
Ugh,
and it's just like, ooh. So she gets the book out, and the house is on fire. And this is also where Montrose and Tick, future Montrose and Tick, are watching his younger self and George and Dora fight off all these white guys at the same time. And they're like verbatim saying what's everything. And he's like, this is where the mysterious man came. He's like, wait, something's not happening.
Yeah, something's not right.
Something's not.
We fucked something up.
We fucked something up. And it's bouncing back and forth between that and Letty and fucking Hattie burning alive. Mm-hmm. And young Montrose and young George and young Dora are all getting their shit kicked out of him. And Tick's like, I'm the guy with the bat. Because the bat falls in front of him and he picks it up and goes out there and starts.
Kid.
Yeah, and it's like
shit.
All of this is happening to a poem by Sonia Sanchez.
Mm-hmm. Catch the Fire.
Yeah, from 1994 that has been done in song form after this, like recently. Mm-hmm. And then also done in an opera we'll talk about in a little bit here too. But it's like, where is your fire? I say, where is your fire? Can't smell it coming out of your past. The fire of living, not dying. The fire of loving, not killing. The fire of blackness, not gangster shadows. Where is our beautiful fire that gave light to the world? Mm-hmm. And it's got this musical kind of arrangement going on with it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, the music's kind of like sad and quirky a little bit, but watching her fucking melt.
Oh, that was
in front of Letty, who cannot be hurt because of the fucking obvious spell that she has.
And good for her for staying with her.
And then she's fucking crumbling up. Tick reaching out to his younger dad.
Right before that, so when Tick was like beating them up and there was a girl sitting in there and he was like, fuck the racist, and he went after the chick. Did you notice that? I thought that was awesome.
That one guy like starts to approach him and he's like, yeah, fuck this.
Yeah, and he takes off.
And he's like, I got you, kid. And reaches out and shakes his dad's hand, and it's just so powerful as she's dying at the same time. And man, we were just crazy. Like choking back tears.
It was intense.
I was like, oh my God, while everything, just that whole fucking thing going together was just so beautifully fucking tragic, and I'm just so moved by that. That's like art. Mm-hmm. What they did there with all those moving pieces is like art.
Right.
It really is.
It is.
But yeah, like you said, the I got you kid thing is from two things in the story that we've gotten so far from this season. Mm-hmm. The very first episode where Jackie Robinson slices Cthulhu in half. He's like, I got you, kid. He says that after he slices him or before, I can't remember. Mm-hmm. But it also, they talk about it when George was talking about when he got saved after the Tulsa Massacre with his brother by the mysterious stranger. And he was like Jackie Robinson, going out there and just swinging like no one ever swung before. And he's like, I know. And that's the connection now where it all foreshadowed comes to that point. So I thought that was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Now, the whole town, of course, after this is on fire, and this is like full-fledged Tulsa fucking massacre time. Planes flying over.
That was intense, too.
It looked really good, and this is the same set that they used on The Watchmen.
Oh, really? Wow.
Which is alternative history. It's not exactly the same. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it looked really good, and it's crazy. You see Letty all of a sudden walking down the street with the book and fire all around her.
Taking her sweet ass time.
Right.
I'm like, what the fuck? You have to save D.
I know.
Hurry up.
Well, think about that for a second, you know. You just watch some person die in front of you.
Yeah, I understand.
That's pretty fucking tragic.
Right.
So, but then that's when they got this opera song playing the same, I think it was the same words as Sonia Sanchez's poem, but they did an opera song to it. And I've read about this. You did too. You found it on Twitter, actually. But Christina found it online, and it was really interesting because Misha Green is one of the writers on the show. And when Karpman and Green met to discuss the episode's score and like the music, the country at this time seemed to be on fire itself with the whole George Floyd thing. Mm-hmm. And how he'd been killed by police in Minneapolis, and protests of violence, had swiftly spread the nation. The composer's Requiem was about more than just Tulsa 1921 when they wrote that opera piece for the very end.
Oh, wow.
So they specifically made that in post. Mm-hmm. And they did it in like such a quick amount of time. They did it like people going into closets and singing, so that they could actually get this.
And we were in quarantine.
Right. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So it's so nice to see that it all kind of came together there.
Right.
And how much it crosses from 1921 to now.
Right.
Which is so
it's kind of sad.
100%.
That's kind of sad.
Thought it was really cool that they added that in there. Mm-hmm. Now we have Letty, who's like marching down the street to get up to Montrose and Tick, who are overlooking the whole fucking disaster. The portal's about to close, and he's like, something's wrong. So Tick jumps through, of course. Hippolyta is like, I can't hold it open. He's like, wait, Letty isn't here. And she just drops to the ground, and then you see Montrose, who's like talking about a surgeon.
He was saying names of people who died during the massacre, and those were all real names.
Yeah, those are people he remembered.
And that Dr. Jackson, it was actually A.C. Jackson. That was his name, and he was a surgeon in Tulsa.
Okay.
I didn't realize in Tulsa that had been there for over 40 years. They started that like right after slavery.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was like that. They were there for a long time. So
yeah, it was a prosperous place.
Yeah, it was crazy. So there was like a lot lost. So that was cool of him to be standing there saying off names of people who actually passed.
The fucked up thing is that the police and everybody were just like, yeah, going out there, militia guys, and we'll sign you off as deputies,
right,
to go do this. It's fucked up. It's a fucked up story. So I understand. I think they did the massacre and the tragedy that happened there justice in the show. It wasn't done any hokey way.
Right.
Very well done.
It was
probably
one
of the most eloquent ways to have ever put a spotlight or shine a light on that we will ever see. Mm-hmm. The tears that were like, man, everybody was talking about how they were crying about it. It's making me tear up just how beautiful it was. So to the way they did it. So congratulations if you guys any of you who worked on that did that, because that's amazing shit. But, you know, they jump through back to the portal because Hippolyta gets the power, but she uses up something. It makes her hair turn blue. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
I know what happened. So
What?
when she passed out and Tick was like, you got to do it for D. You got to do it for D.
Right, because
So
Dee's in the observatory
and-
waiting.
Yeah, and she channeled that, and that's why her hair turned blue, is because that's Dee's character that she drew
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah,
from. So her hair
yeah, she
turned
was
blue.
like floating and shit too.
Yeah, she was elevating and.
That was it, though. That was how the episode pretty much just ends.
Yeah, well, Letty came through the portal.
Yeah, everybody comes through, of
and
course.
So what do you think is gonna happen next episode?
I still think there's talk about whether or not Montrose is the father,
right,
and I don't think it matters. I honestly,
Right.
I think their bond is strong regardless, and I think that's
they're still
it's about family.
regardless.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, regardless, they're still family.
Some people are saying, "Oh, I think he's going to be the father in the end anyway." I think it doesn't really matter because I still think Montrose is going to be, he's going to self-sacrifice for
Do you think he's gonna die in place of Tick?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that's what's going to happen because Tick saved him as a child. It would be beautiful. It would be poetry.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
I've been feeling that way since like the third episode.
Yeah.
So it's time to pay the piper on that. I don't know. Maybe he won't die. I don't know. But he's going to do something to make sure that Tick doesn't die. To save him. And it's going to change things.
Right.
So, but it's interesting because, like, if everything's preordained, Tick needed to run out there to do the bat thing. Will this change something, you know? If Tick is up on the machine and dies like Gia thought, will this change the future?
Oh.
Or is it already preordained and he never really died or something else? I don't know. You know, maybe it was a lie. Maybe she saw the future, but he wasn't really dead.
There's multiple dimensions, so anything
Yeah, but they
happens.
haven't really toyed with that. They've been doing more time travel,
Yeah,
which
but
is the
she-
same dimension.
But she's been talking about it, so it's obviously a thing. So
Right. I mean, that machine is supposed to go through all different dimensions,
right, and times.
but they're
So-
only using it for time travel, which is still amazing to them,
Well,
I guess.
she uses it for dimensional travel.
Sure, she did, but she
Yeah,
was
but-
also using her mind to be able to do that. So I don't know. It's interesting nonetheless. I would like to see what happens. I just think Montrose is going to somehow be the key component into why Tick does not die or something. It just feels that way to me. I could be partially right. I might be completely wrong. I might be completely right. Who knows? So what do you think's going to happen then?
I don't know.
Yeah, see? Anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming by this week. I would love to hear what you guys think about this. Were you as moved by the way that they did this episode? So let us know in the comments section down below. Let us know any of your theories. Would love to hear those too. But other than that, yeah, we'll be back next week for a whole new episode, the final episode of Lovecraft Country, episode 10. Next week.
Yep. Season finale.
Season finale. I'm positive we're going to get another season. So we'll see you next week for the last episode, guys. Thank you so much for coming by. And as always,
Long live the void.